What's up? I'm Ed and he's Michael. We're Conquer and Hold. We're a weekly Riftbound podcast where we talk about all the Riftbound happenings every week. We also stream every 6:30 at the People's Card Shop Twitch. Come check us out. We stream 3 Nexus Night matches every Monday. Michael, what's today's episode about?
On Conquer and Hold today, it's the Spirit Forge is coming soon and end of Origins meta. We thought it'd be fun to go back and look at the top 10 most impactful spells and the top 10 most impactful units of this entire meta. Starting off with the spells, they're all very strong, so the top couple are like very interchangeable. Number 10, we decided to put Falling Star. Falling Star is just such a crazy power push for Kai'Sa in the early days of Spirit Forge or Origins and pushing later on. It is one of the only spells that is able to kill units in base for so cheap, and 6 damage for only 2 mana. You can't get any more damage than that for the amount you're paying for it.
Yeah, I think Falling Star is the linchpin of the Kai'Sa deck. Arguably, I want it definitely higher, but there's a lot of all-stars on our list. The thing about Falling Star is it's only kind of like a Kai'Sa card because the 2 recycle just is a little too hefty. Kai'Sa's legend ability being able to break Falling Star in half makes it this like de jure premier removal for Kai'Sa, and it warps the format. If your monster cannot survive Falling Star, you need to be at least prepared that, hey, it's always going to get Falling Star.
Yeah, that's why I didn't put higher, because it's like, the 2 mana, it's like a Kai'Sa card, but it's so annoying when you're crafting a deck and you're like, oh, this 4-drop dies to Falling Star, which is just, if you have to think about it when you play every card in your deck, then it's pretty strong.
The next one is going to be Charm, one of my favorite green cards from set 1. It's plain and simple, move an enemy unit. You could do many things with it. Obviously, there is the classic charm a monster over and use some type of legend ability, or just pull over a tiny monster and then win the battle. But charm pulls double duty of not necessarily pulling monsters to you. You can also push monsters away, being able to start a showdown without a monster guaranteed there, so you can easily win the fight barring any battle tricks.
I also love how, when you have, a big boy deck, it's an infinite damage kill spell. You take any minion, and you're able to just pull it into your battlefield, and playing that turn completely correct, this should be a free kill on any minion that you need to kill. Next up, we have On Guard and Discipline, both at the same slots. They fulfill a very similar purpose of buffing your minions. On Guard for 1 mana buffs for 2. Discipline also buffs for 2 mana, but also draws a card. Discipline is nice because cycling in Master Yi and all these green decks is so helpful later on into the game. But On Guard makes it so that if you hold 2 mana up, 3 mana up, you can do Discipline and On Guard. You can go On Guard, On Guard, On Guard, and Defy. Having it be 1 mana is so versatile, and just the amount of spells your opponent has to think about when they're playing into your board.
Yeah, you're going to notice something with every single one of these cards. They're all format warping. If you can play around these cards, or if you know these cards exist, you have to make sure that you can play around them so you do not get punished. Also, the biggest thing is these green cards that facilitate the Dreaming Tree. Dreaming Tree is one of the strongest draw engines you could play in Origins, and having Discipline and On Guard, 6 spells in your deck that trigger Dreaming Tree, Discipline also being able to draw 2, these cards are just insane. And next we have Sabotage, a 1 energy, 1 recycle body rune. Choose an opponent, they reveal their hand, choose a non-unit card from it, and recycle that card.
Most of the time, this is better than removal because some specific cards like Aurora, when they hit the board, they're going to get that initial value. So you stop them from getting that initial value. Yeah, they don't have to pay for it, but you're stopping them from using the card altogether, which in a lot of cases is really strong. If you use this, you get to check out your opponent's hand. A lot of skillful players that use Sabotage look at your opponent's hand, and now you can play your turn with everything in mind and perfectly craft the way you want that turn to go.
Mm-hmm. And then the next card is going to be Retreat. It is a spell reaction. Return a friendly unit to its owner's hand, and its owner channels 1 rune exhausted.
I really like Retreat because this is basically any card that's on your battlefield. Instead of that card dying, you can pay 1 mana, pick it up, and channel 1 extra rune. So Retreat becomes an additional extra copy of any card that's on your battlefield because, yeah, you have to pay the mana to play it again, but it does ramp you. It does work with Dreaming Tree. So it's just the third, the fourth copy of all of those cards that are in your deck.
And retreat really shows the power of reaction speed. Just being able to have a card in response to something, not letting your opponent resolve a card, being able to protect your monster, it's really insane. And I think we have to look at every reaction just in case it might be insane in response to something.
I really like doubling down on your battle cries, like getting a Watcher back for next turn. Like if you have one Watcher and a retreat, you have 2 Watchers.
Yeah, and triggers Dreaming Tree.
And Dreaming Tree. Then we have Stack Deck. This card is actual cheating. You get to look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You can pick one. You get to craft your hand. And the cool thing is, even when those cards go to the bottom of your deck, you can think about, oh, I don't have to worry about drawing those cards. That 2-drop that I never want to see, he's not there anymore. He's out.
Stack Deck just adds a lot of consistency. One of my favorite parts about it is it does double duty. In decks like Aurora, it gets you to the Aurora. It gets you to this kind of late game to get the answers. But also when you're going second against, when you're playing like just a curve deck, when you go second, you can Stack Deck, try to draw into a 2-drop, and it gives you consistency there. So it's almost good at almost every point of the game as long as you have that 1 open mana.
I think this card would be good even if it wasn't an action. Having an action on this card is so wild. Then we have Fight or Flight. 2 mana hidden. Move a unit from a battlefield. It could be your unit. It could be your opponent's unit. There's so many things you can do with this. You can use it to win a fight. You can push your opponent's minion out of a battlefield so you can conquer freely. You can save your guy. Maybe you have a Vi that you want to save. Another cool thing is if you have a ready unit, you can move it out of a battlefield. That way it could attack into a different battlefield. There are so many ways to use Fight or Flight, and it having the ability to be a reaction because you hide it, so versatile.
Yep, Fight or Flight is the perfect culmination of everything we just said. It's a cheap removal spell. It targets Dreaming. It triggers Dreaming Tree. It is a pseudo reaction speed with a hidden ability. It's charm, but you can use it at action speed or reaction speed. Obviously, there's a little bit of nuance with it, but there's so much things you can do with Fight or Flight, and it makes purple one of these super versatile colors. The next card is going to be Ride the Wind. It is an action, move a friendly unit, and ready it.
Just moving a unit is strong enough, but it's an action and it readies it. So this combos with a lot of different things, but just being able to protect your guy from danger, or on your opponent's turn, they conquer battlefield, you push back into reconquer, you can get a point on your opponent's turn. This could swing the point tempo back into your favor when they're tapped out and they're not expecting a Ride the Wind. Also, big units that need a turn to set up. No, they don't, because you are able to immediately play that big Mundo and then Ride the Wind in. The kind of one of the best combos with Ride the Wind, obviously, is Vi, because if you have a unit with ganking, Ride the Wind makes it ready. So if you move it into a battlefield, it's readied. It can retreat, but if it has ganking, it can then fight over into the next battlefield.
Yep, and Ride the Wind is just an all-star card that, for all intents and purposes, as long as it's in the purple colors, we're going to see it. And I think all these cards that we've shown definitely are all-stars in the Origin meta, but we have to reiterate that it's very important that we study these cards, because in Spirit Forge, a lot of these cards are going to get played, and Ride the Wind is a all-star in the Irelia deck.
Next up, we have Rebuke, 2 mana, 2 power, put a unit on a battlefield back into the owner's hand. At the beginning of Origin's meta, we didn't really think Rebuke was that good because it has a 2 power cost. But it's a secret buff because it plays around Defy. You're able to not play it and no worry about it actually being countered. In China, they weren't playing Annie at the beginning, but Annie, once we were in North America and other places playing Origins meta, it came really crazy that when Annie's able to ready 2 runes, Fight or Flight is a big player, but Rebuke is another big player because Mastery has so many gigantic cards that is impossible to beat over, and they cannot deny this.
Yep. I think one of the things that is really deceptive about Rebuke and other things like that is if a cheap card is able to remove or answer an expensive card, it's probably worth it. Rebuke seems like it's really expensive. 2 energy, 2 power, but when you are rebuking stuff, let's remove the fact that it might be for game or you're defending like a game point. When you rebuke a monster that's like 8 mana, like even like a like a Mind Splitter or something like that, or a Deadloom Predator, sure, they'll get the triggers back, but then for all intents and purposes, you are up 6 mana because you were able to get rid of it. And that's an important thing in Riftbound that people need to understand, is that being up on mana is one of the best things you could be doing.
And it's a fast game. Like, at a certain point, it doesn't matter if they can play it again if they can't make use out of it.
Mm-hmm. And then speaking of being up on mana, it is the ultimate card about trading up with your opponent. It's going to be Defy. It's a reaction speed counter spell that costs no more than 4 and no more than 1 recycle power.
Just this being 1 mana is so crazy because you can combo with like on guard or so many other spells, and you don't need to leave up much mana for your opponent to be worried. If you leave up 1 mana at the end of most turns, your opponent has to play around Defy literally all the time. Yeah, they could check for it, but you could buff it or bluff it.
Defy is obscene, one of the best, premier green cards, and you just have to look at it like this. If your 1 energy, 1 power card beats a 4 energy, 1 power card, it's up. It's great. You literally use 1 mana to kill 4 mana, and that's where you want to be in any card game.
And just like Ed said with Rebuke, it's like for that turn, you're up on mana, and these games are pretty fast tempo towards the late game. If at a specific moment you Defy and they can't come back on that tempo in the next turn or two, it doesn't matter if they have follow-up because you just kind of stop them from, removing your creature, and you get to push on and, steamroll the game. Those are all the spells. Moving on to the top 10 units. In number 10, we have Kiana. Kiana, 4 might. Deflect. When you conquer, you get to draw 1 or channel a rune. I really like Kiana because if your opponent wants to interact with her, they have to do, they take the penalty of getting rid of one of their runes. And a lot of players, this is obviously a Mastery card, even though it is in orange. And Mastery wants to draw all of those green cards, the 1 mana Defies, the 1 mana on guards. And the more times your Kiana is able to conquer and get those cards, you can build your hand, and on follow-up turns, use them.
Yep, the workhorse of the orange deck. One of the most annoying cards to deal with. Late game Kiana, early game Kiana, always really frustrating. I'm really excited to punch first this card next set.
That's broken.
The next card is going to be one of my favorites, Sneaky Deckhand. When you play me to an open battlefield, you may play me to an open battlefield.
I honestly didn't think it was that good when I was first reading all these cards in Origins. And I feel like a lot of people didn't think he was that good either because Annie at the beginning wasn't a played deck. And Annie with the Rebuke and people actually playing Deckhand, you don't really feel how good these cards are at the beginning of a card game until you actually play them. Playing Sneaky Deckhand, playing Rebuke, they feel crazy. But when you look at the card specifically, like when you're first going into the game, you might not realize how nuts it is. But going second on Annie, slapping a Sneaky Deckhand down, and then writing 2 runes and being able to interact with your opponent, it's basically like you went first.
Mm-hmm. The next card is going to be Tasty Feyfolk. It's an accelerated unit, a 7 energy, 6 might. Death Knell, channel 2 runes exhausted, and draw 1.
This is just good in late game decks. Even aggro decks can play this, mid-range decks, control decks. Just being able to have an accelerated unit that you don't care if it dies. If it dies, it's not even bad for you. You channel 2 and you draw a card. The only funny part about it is all of the Aurora players here at the locals constantly summoning him off Aurora, but he's just so good in the deck in order to, not completely lose when you don't have your Aurora.
Yep. The other funny thing about Tasty Feyfolk is he literally took a bite out of himself, just to let everyone know.
He knows he's a tasty guy.
All right, next we have White Flame Protector. It is a 8 energy, 2 power cost, 8 might. When you play me, give 8 might this turn.
It's just when you have a small guy or a medium guy, you play White Flame to buff him up, you can punch into a battlefield to totally win. The 8 might buff is literally insane. He's 16 might of a card. The 8 might goes away. It's temporary, but that initial push is so strong. And when you combo White Flame Protector with Charm, you can basically clear anything you want. You clear a battlefield, you charm another unit in. When you have those 2 cards in tandem with another, the game is yours. Next up, we have a Darius. We're getting into the red cards now. 5 mana, 1 power, 5 might. When you play your second card this turn, he gets ready, and 2 might.
I think Darius is one of the best parts about the red color in general. It is an accelerated unit, but what often happens, it's very sneaky. You can use Darius multiple times in, not multiple times in one turn, but you can move him multiple times in one turn. So oftentimes when you hold a top battlefield, you're going to be able to move him twice, take the other battlefield, and a lot of times people will not be expecting that. And oftentimes you can kind of use him to dodge in and out of battlefields. Sometimes you might not want him to hold. You want to run him back. You just play a second card, move him back, and that's a common thing that we're going to see in a lot of these cards is just versatility, both being great on aggro, but also being able to defend themselves. One of the best cards, I think, in set one.
I agree. He's on rate, but then with his ability, he's crazy overstated. The 7 might for 5, and he has that accelerate. So you would normally pay like 1 power for accelerate anyway. You just pay the initial cost for Darius, and he can continually give himself that buff, which is cool. Next, we got Vi. 2 mana, 3 might, 1 power. Ganking, recycle 1 from your trash, and give her +1 this turn. You can use this ability as many times as you have stuff in your trash.
Vi is the second copy, the second combo card in the Ride the Wind combo. If you Ride the Wind Vi, it can get really big because of Vi's, recycle effect. Just so everyone knows, it is not once per turn. You can literally recycle 19 cards, give it 19 might. And with that ability, you can Ride the Wind, move it over to a battlefield, score the point because it's so ridiculously large. And with the ganking ability, it's able to score that second point. It's almost a guaranteed 2 points in the red-purple combination. Vi is just something you always have to be cognizant of. It's just a really scary card to deal with.
I really hope when we get a Vi Legend, she's red-purple. Like, I really want her to be red-purple.
Yes.
Next up, we have Kaisa, 4 mana, no power, which is so beautiful on, any card. And Accelerate, when you conquer, you draw 1 card. Simple, but you can repeatedly use this effect if you continue to conquer.
I think Kaisa is one of the best cards in set 1 for a really simple, innocuous reason. There is just no energy cost. Being able to tempo out a Kaisa turn 2 without fear of deramping, but also having the versatility of, let's say you have 5 mana, you could run that Kaisa up in there. It's just a balance of, you have 2 modes, and that's again what I'm going to say over and over in this episode is, if your card is just versatile, it can do multiple things. It's going to do great stuff. And Kaisa is a draw engine, but also it kind of just plays the role of a win condition also with Accelerate.
Any accelerated unit, I just think
Broken beyond words.
And theirs is basically accelerate, so.
Yeah. Then we have Mind Splitter. It is a 7 energy, 7 power unit with 7 might. When you play me, choose an opponent, they reveal their hand, choose a card from it, and they discard that card.
This is another one of those cards where it seems really good, but people didn't play it too much at the beginning of Spirit Forge. I mean, Origins. I keep saying Spirit Forge.
We're just so locked into the Spirit Forge.
So close. But being able to look at your opponent's hand is powerful enough, and you get to discard anything. This is even better than Sabotage, because Sabotage you can't hit a unit. Mind Splitter can hit a unit. Maybe your deck can't deal with specific units. Maybe your deck can't deal with a Vibe. Maybe your deck can't deal with a Mundo. When you Mind Splitter, you get to get that out of there before it even hits the battlefield, which sometimes is better than killing it while it's on the field, because maybe your deck doesn't have the ability to kill it.
Yep, Mind Splitter is literally the reason why I think Misfortune is so good, being able to kind of rip apart their hand with Mind Splitter and Sabotage.
Yeah, the double. Dude.
I've watched so many Misfortunes play, and Mind Splitter, I think, is the de facto reason why that deck is good, being able to kind of rip out big threats. But also what happens with the Aurora deck is you're kind of slow to start up. They can build up a hand, but if you Mind Splitter, rip out the best card of their hand, sometimes they can't do anything to your overwhelming board.
Orange purple is a pretty cool color combo that is not too explored in like the mid-rangey, because a lot of Misfortunes are Aurora, but I can't wait for people to, in Spirit Forge, actually play mid-range Misfortune, mid-range Sivir.
Sivir is actually one of my favorite decks to play next set. I think it's super duper cool with the Treasure Trove card. Treasure Trove Sivir, it's a free Gold Gear token. That's nuts.
And then we have Dead Bloom Predator. This is number 2 on our list. You get to deflect, play him into an open battlefield. He's just the guy that you put in every orange deck, every Aurora deck. He is your guy that is removal, right? You want to play an 8-mana guy, but sometimes you can't have all these 8-mana guys and remove stuff in the same turn. But Deadbloom, he could do it.
Yep. Deadbloom Predator, it's like what we said earlier, where if a card warps the format, if you see open mana or you have to play around this card constantly, it must be an absurd card. And one of the great things that we've noticed watching so many feature matches, going over so many games, playing so many games, is that one of the best things you can do against an orange deck is to kind of leave an open battlefield, because Deadbloom Predator is one of the most egregious punishes you can have.
Yeah. I just think it's just, when you have to play like that, the card's crazy. You have to pull out of the battlefield because you're like, oh, they might have the one Predator. And lastly, number 1, which I think is so strong, it is Thousand-Tailed Watcher. It defined the early meta of Origins. Accelerate, and when you play it, you give all enemy units -3 out of battlefield in their base, a minimum of 1. And it could rush in, so it is your removal. You can, if you build a giant board and you play Thousand-Tailed Watcher, accelerated or not, you probably accelerate him. It is basically a board wipe for the most part.
Yeah, Thousand-Tailed Watchers. Again, we're going to keep saying it. If it does multiple things, it's going to be insane. Thousand-Tailed Watcher in itself is a win condition. It's a big body that is a huge threat, but also being able to -3, make everything small, making you able to win combats that you're not supposed to. I've seen Thousand-Tailed Watchers be obscene when you accelerate, but I've also seen Thousand-Tailed Watchers being slammed down, not accelerated, and it literally ends the game. The -3 is so impactful. If you think about it, what's that card? White Flame Protector gives +8. Thousand-Tailed Watcher has the potential to give -15, -30. Thousand-Tailed Watcher is a card you have to play around constantly. It is the boogeyman when you play against blue. It's the reason why decks like Kaisa are so powerful.
Dude, early Origins meta, this guy, he was like a $60, was he an Epic?
Yeah.
It's because he's absurd. Everyone just needed him in your deck, and when it was hard to come by, he was more expensive than some signature spells.
Yep.
And that is everything. Our question for you today is, what was your favorite card to play in Origins? My favorite card, I really love Mundo. I think it's just so fun where you can like have a deck where you're all about filling up your trash and making this one big guy where you're moving around.
I think my favorite card would have to be probably Charm. I think Charm,
cool.
Every time I've seen it be activated, it is this game-breaking card. And every time I activate it, it's like, wow, I can't believe this is for 1 mana.
What's your favorite bad card?
What's my favorite bad card? Garbage Grabber. It is.
What's that?
It is a 2 energy gear, and it basically says you can tap it and pay 1 to shuffle, recycle 2 back from the bottom of your deck to draw a card.
Guy.
The little blue guy that kind of looks
guy.
like a creature. He's great in like these really slow control decks. Obviously, I played a lot of Ari, I played a lot of Lux, and what often happens is you have like a big graveyard, and then sometimes you need specific cards in that deck. So being able to draw 2 cards every turn is really cool. And Garbage Grabber just looks cute. It reminds me of the Rick and Morty thing.
Yeah, I really like. I played Runeterra, and his art just is one of my favorites from that game. Okay, tell us yours in the comments below. Thanks.